Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's program. Let's go ahead and kick up our, let's see, the intro. Do I have that here? I don't think I have it anywhere. Yeah, I thought I had it, but no, I don't. Hang on, let me dig it up here. All right, I put the damn thing. Meant to be like more prepared today, but as per usual, I'm just never prepared. All right, where do I got it? No, of course not. It's just never where I need it, when I need it. Hang on, everybody. So professional here. Anyways, maybe do like the Matty Allen intro here. All right, here's how that goes. And we're live. Hello, everybody. I'm Matty Allen. I've got a great show for you tonight. And you know what? That's actually true. I do have a great show for you today. What you are going to have here. Oh, here it is. I found this thing here. What you are going to see. You are going to be glued to your computer or glued to your phone throughout this entire program for probably the next 2 hours. Because, man, I got so much to share with you, so much that you don't want to miss, so much that is so riveting and critical for you to learn and for you to know. And hey, guess what? I found the intro. One of these days, I'm going to have it set up professionally here.
Sometimes you just gotta shut the fuck up. Hey man, just wanna let you know that sometimes you gotta shut the fuck up. This current time is just one of those times you gotta shut the fuck up. I don't think you're a bad person. I just don't want to hear you talking anymore. You gotta shut up.
All right, there we go. I sure hope that everything worked there. Matter of fact, let me check something out. Okay, yeah, it does. Great. Gotta make sure that like all the audio and everything here works. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is a very important day. You see, today is 8/28, and in history, this is a very significant day. Maybe one of y'all in the chat knows what is the significance of 8/28. What was the important thing that happened? So if you know, throw it in there. If you don't know, don't Google it. Don't cheat. Let's see if somebody knows here, because I'm interested to see like how well our pathetic school system here in the United States was able to make you memorize dates and other things, as opposed to the real story of why the date is important. Really curious about that. Just taking my multivitamin here. But yes, today, 8/28, very important day, and I've got a very important chart here for you. Like how Matty Allen would usually say, I've got a great show for you. I've got a great show for you. Not mocking Matty. Got nothing but love for Matty. But this is the chart that I want to bring up here. I posted this on X. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is a big part of what I want to talk about today. And as you can see here, this is tracking the Treasury yield and the federal funds rate. So the blue is the Treasury yield, and this like brownish gold one is the federal funds rate. And you notice how like sometimes they cross over each other, and they don't seem to like track perfectly with each other here. I mean, like, yeah, there is some parts of this where it kind of looks like, you know, two sets of teeth that go together, but they don't really track each other perfectly here. And matter of fact, I do got a better chart of this that I can show you. Let me show you that. because there was a much better one on TradingView. Where did I put it? Oh, yeah, here it is. Oops. Okay, here we go. This is the chart of the day. And I'm going to leave this up here for a while here because this was a very shocking, or I should say stunning or eye-opening discovery that I made today. I'm probably not the first person that noticed this here, so I don't want to take credit like, oh yeah, I'm so great because I figured this out. I'm not saying anything like that. But to me, this is like some serious Big Short stuff. If you saw the movie The Big Short, this is what I'm talking about. If you saw the movie Margin Call, to me, this is a lot like that. That's what I'm looking at here. This is just reminds me so much of those things. If you watch those movies where, these guys were uncovering the housing crisis before it happened and everything. I'm not saying that there's a housing crisis or a big crash coming or something like that. Well, I'll tell you what I think this chart means here a little bit later. But I wanted to show this to everybody here. This chart is really that incredible when you notice the pattern that I notice. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm leaving it up here for a little bit. And if somebody can tell me while I'm on stream here today, what is the pattern that you think I notice? What is it that I think is significant about this chart? If somebody can guess, or if somebody really knows why I think this chart is so important, I'm going to send you a free copy of my book. And not the ones that you can get on my Substack. You can always get my Substack book for free, but this one is a special. I'm going to send you a free copy of the book Cryptonomics, which, hey, let me show you that here. Where did I put that? Bear with me for a moment here because, I'm such a professional broadcaster. Amazon.com. It's up here. Where did I put it? Man, why can't it be that easy to find? Just put my name in there too, and it should be on there. Oh, okay, that's why I spelled it wrong. There we go. All right, so let me show this to you here. If you can guess what the significance of the chart is, I'll put it back up. I will give you a free copy of this book, Cryptonomics, the Endgame of Bitcoin and Blockchain. You see, what the purpose of this book was this here. Was everybody was asking, well, what's the end game of crypto? What is it that they're trying to achieve? What is it that is going to be the ultimate accomplishment that they're looking to accomplish? How do I know that there isn't any investment opportunity left in crypto anymore? What does that future look like when crypto has achieved the thing that we wanted, that it was invented to achieve? This book tells you. This book tells you. And this is also going to be something very good for helping out new people that you're trying to get into crypto, like your new onboards and everything, but they got a gazillion questions that are like, hey, what's the purpose of this? What is it trying to achieve? What is it that they ultimately want crypto to do besides go up in value while we own it? This book will tell you exactly what we're trying to achieve and what the end game of all this is here. Very, very informative. And I think that once you read this here, you're going to be just as bullish as me the way that I am. Or you're going to be, I'm going to make you very bullish by the end of the stream here today. But after reading this book here, you're not going to be thinking, okay, well, this crypto thing could work out, and still then again, it may not. Because that was a debate for a while. They didn't know if that crypto was going to work out to be as successful as the internet, or if it was going to be a big flop like Esperanto. You ever heard of Esperanto? That was this worldwide singular language that everybody in every country would be able to speak. They wanted to make that a thing, and it never became a thing. And the hope there was if they had everybody speaking the same language, well, then business and the crypto world, that definitely is going to be something that is going to be the next big thing like the internet, as opposed to a flop like Esperanto. So if you can guess This is the prize here. You get this book for free. This is your prize if you can guess why I believe this chart is so significant. Here's how significant I think this chart is. I think this should be taught in schools, at least in high school. We should be teaching kids all about the significance of this chart and exactly what it means. Because if you understand this chart, you're going to have a much easier investing life when you understand what is going on here with this chart. So again, like the maroon line, that is the federal funds rate. And then the green and red candle line, that line there with the green and red candles is the Treasury. I think I'm showing it on the screen right now, Kirill, so I hope you can see it. And I'll leave it up here while I'm doing the rest of most of the talking here today. So this, I'm going to keep this open all the way until the very end of today's stream and see if anybody gets it. And there you get your free, and then you get your free book. All right. All right, so I'll come back to the chart again here, but we got to do a little bit of housekeeping here first. So let's do this here. I'm going to show you everything else that I got going on for today and the next couple of days here. Well, everything I got going on in general. Let's start with the market. What's going on in the market here today? Bitcoin is at 112. Not bad. We like that. Ethereum is at 4,400, pushing 4,500. Not bad, but not great. It has been higher. And it seems to really struggle to break across 5,000. Now, once it breaks across 5,000, lots of shorts are going to get liquidated. And that's how that thing is going to go from 5,000 to 7,000 very quickly, and possibly to 10,000 very quickly. And then, we might be in alt season when that happens. Some other things that popped today here. We got Solana. That was something that was very powerful for today because of a special announcement by the Department of Commerce. They're going to be posting their GDP growth statistics and everything on the blockchain, and they picked a couple of different blockchains to do it. And I'm very happy about it because a lot of them are blockchains that are projects I'm invested in. Sonic was one of them. I'm very happy about that because I think my biggest bag actually is it's either Sonic or Pulse X, because those were the ones that I bought the most of, just because Pulse X is probably Pulse X because that was the cheapest coin to buy and everything. You might notice that I've added a few coins to the list here, like Hyperliquid and Ethena. Good reason why I'm adding those to the list here. I'm going to talk a little bit about those today. And I'm not recommending that you buy them or anything. Don't think of me as recommending any coins. I am going to highlight them because there's this very special example for what I'm going to talk about today here and what the main purpose of today is. How about this one right here? Let's take a closer look at this. Let's look at Kronos. Look at this. I mean, from about February all the way to July, just last month, it had been pretty flat. Been pretty flat for a long, long time. And then, just in the past 3 days, boom! Parabolic God candle coming in here. I'm showing you this here because, one, it's in the news here, so I guess we got to talk about it. And the news is basically, we know that Trump's organization, his media organization, is going to be buying a whole bunch of crow. A whole bunch of crow. Last cycle, I think that the all-time high on it was 89 cents. I think they got that over here on Coin Market Crap. So 96 cents, that was the all-time high. It had a one candle wick go all the way up to that. And, of course, came back down. I think the close for that day was 89 cents. I remember I had a bunch of this back then. I still got a little bit of it now. But I'll show you this here. It's these coins, they may be staying flat for a long time. When you look at the all-time history, I mean, at the bear market, when it first set in 2022, it was only 12 cents, and it traded within that range or lower for a very long time, for years. It didn't really have its first big pop until back in December of 2024 when everything popped. because there we had Ethereum pushing up higher, and the Ethereum was pushing the rest of the market up. So it had its pop there, but then it had been flat after everything started coming down, and 2025 was starting to become a very disappointing year. But look at that. That candle, boom, pops right off. Isn't that incredible? I think that's absolutely incredible. And that should give you some hope that even though a project looks like it's dead for a long time or looks like it's not going anywhere, anything can happen with it. And some people are going to be like, well, that's because Trump is buying it. That's just the initial piece of news. Who's really buying it right now? It's not Trump buying it right now. Trump did not do this with his money. This is all the people plowing into it in anticipation of the future purchases that Trump's organization is going to do with it. This wasn't the only one that had big pop here today. There's another one, which is Pyth or Pith. I'm not really sure what's the proper way to say it here, so I just say Pith. But this one's interesting right here, because I'll tell you what, this is the only coin on the Solana network that I got any interest in at all. I don't have any interest at all in any of the other Solana coins. But I do like this one because of what it can be used for, what it can do, and also its history. I mean, back in March, when we had a big pop in March, I think that was when Bitcoin hit its first all-time high this cycle. This thing was over $1. So it can definitely do that here again. But check this out. This is another case here where it had been trading flat for a long time, and it looked like it was a dead project going nowhere, but then boom, an all-time, or not an all-time high, but a giant parabolic god candle comes in and just kicks that thing all the way up. Almost, I think it is up 100% from where it was at 10 cents. Yeah, because it did touch 20 cents earlier today. And this is because it's partnered up with the government. And they want to use this at the Department of Commerce to publish GDP data. So this is incredible here. This one has a lot of good going for it. And it's the only thing on Solana that I like. And where did I bring this up here is not just to show you that these coins that look like they've been dead and flat for a very long time can still come back and just prove everybody wrong. Yeah, I don't want to show you that here, but also this is to say, this is why I'm not a maximalist. I'm not a maxi in anything. Yes, I love the Richard Hart tokens, and I got a giant bags in the Richard Hart tokens. But I'm not a maximist. I'm not going to be just going full hard into one coin or into one ecosystem. Part of it is because of reasons like this here. You just never know when something is going to pop all on its own before everything else, and when it's going to have its great run. And it's going to be very easy if you're concentrated into one position, into one ecosystem. It's going to be very easy to doubt yourself and think that you did the wrong thing, you picked the wrong coin, and it's going to be very tempting to sell off your coins that are down to go chase these shiny objects here. But I think that if you own just a little bit of everything, you're less inclined to do that. Let's take a look at the rest of the market here. Anything else going on? I don't think so. And let's also take a look at the coins that we care the most about. The Pulse Chain ecosystem. Refresh for the latest data. And for the most part, it's kind of flat here. It's kind of flat. But bear in mind, it just takes one really good green candle coming through to make something happen with it. The things that matter the most important metrics, the DXY. Let's refresh so we have the best one here. It's down a little bit today, which is why everything's popping a little bit today at 97.88. And the other thing that matters the most, the 10-year Treasury, it is down a little bit today, 4.2%. Again, we need it below 4%, and really we need it below 3% to have things really start getting good. But some progress on that was made today. Oh, there's also something really cool that's new on CoinMarketCap. I don't know if you've seen this yet or if anybody's heard about this, but man, this is going to be like your best friend. I'm so glad that they put this up here. Check this out over here where it says Market Cycle Indicators. Anybody seen this here yet? Because what this shows you is where they think we are in the market cycle and if we've reached the top yet. They've got 27 indicators from previous bull runs, previous highs that they're tracking. Or I think it's 30 actually. Yeah, 30 indicators right here. 30 crypto market cycle top indicators. It's an awesome little tool here. I'm so glad they put this up. And right now, like what they're saying here is that all of these coins are still undervalued. These things are not as high as they could be. I mean, they are actually predicting a $187,000 Bitcoin top in the Pi cycle top. And take a look at some of these other indicators here that they've got. The rainbow price chart indicator. This is, I think it's using the greed and fear index with the different colors right here to kind of tell us, well, here's how hot it could get in the bull run. And it's not hot there yet. It's not there yet. Not even close. Like, it's still like where it's trading here is, let's see, in the $100,000 to $137,000 range. I don't know if they really think on the rainbow chart that Bitcoin can go as high as 867,000. I think like that's way too high for this cycle here. Could happen in could happen in future cycles, but I don't know about this cycle here. It's like this one here, they were also like predicting, well, this thing could have gone all the way up to 150,000 in the last cycle. And a lot of us thought that we were going to 100,000 in the last cycle, but as we were waiting for it, we didn't do so well. We got our teeth kicked in. But it is very spot on for the 2017 cycle. Here's what you want to pay attention to is all of the indicators. There are 30 of them. And over on the right side, every single one of them has an X right next to it. That means it hasn't been triggered yet. It hasn't been hit yet. That means that the bull run has not even started. Gee, isn't there a guy that streams on Thursdays at 5? And he's been saying that ever since he started streaming. Yeah, there is a guy that says that. I think that he was on RH Max's channel when he was doing a Pulse Chain conference. Man, what was that guy's name? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I also think he was a pretty good-looking guy, too, and everything. But, yeah, he had said that the bull run hadn't even started. And look at this right here. It looks like he was 100% spot on telling the truth, because not only is this the opinion of some obscure good-looking guy that was discovered by RH Max and had been streaming on Thursdays ever since, but it's also the opinion of all of the analysts over at CoinMarketCap and all of the professionals in crypto. They all say that too. So look at that. I'm taking a victory lap here on this one. I think it's a well-deserved victory lap at that. All right. Well, we got some more of our friends here coming in the chat and everything. We got Kent. We got Kirill. Tam, of course. Chex. Welcome, guys. So, anybody know what's special about 8/28? About today? What makes today a special day in history? You tell me if you know. All right, I can see y'all are still trying to guess what's going on with the chart. Speaking of like federal funds rate, let me show you something about federal funds rate. As we got some news on that here. Or maybe not news, but still, we've got something worth talking about when it comes to the federal funds rate. I think I just got to share the whole window again here. And that's this. The probability of the rate cut coming in September. Let's refresh here because I think it might be a tad. Okay, yeah, so this is most up to date. It was 85% this morning. Now it's 87% that there will be a rate cut. And they think it's just going to be 25 basis points, but it could be more. Could be more. I mean, we don't know. There's still a good 2.5 weeks to go before it actually happens, or really 3 weeks. And a lot can happen then, especially when those jobs revisions come back and they find out they're like, oh, yeah, hey, there's not as many jobs in this economy as we originally thought there was. that it can definitely happen here. So far, we're looking like it's going to be a cut and it's going to be good. Some other things here to bring up. If you want a free copy of my book, Your Parents Were Wrong, all you got to do is head on over to my Substack, and you will get a free copy of that book by being a free subscriber. Everything is free. It costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe to my Substack. You don't have to pay if you don't want to pay. All of the articles on there are 100% free. I don't have any paid ones up yet. Someday I will. But when you sign up for a free membership on my Substack, you get this book for free. If you want to pay me, great. I'll give you more free books. Got a nice one here. It's called Bitcoin Begins. Bitcoin Explained Using Batman. So you got a friend that is asking you, hey, can you help me understand this crypto thing? And you need a good analogy to make it make sense to them? This book will help you do that. And also, if you become an idealist, you also get this book here. It's called No More 9 to 5. An idealist just means that you're one of my biggest fans, is all that means. All right, so back to this chart here. Everybody try coming up with your guesses for what you think this chart means. The maroon is the federal funds rate. The red and green candles is the 10-year Treasury. I see a pattern here in this chart, and pay close attention to the years. Pay very close attention to the years. Hang on, let me just adjust something here. I'll leave that chart up here so that y'all can try to decipher what you think is going on with it. So do what you can there to figure it out and see what's happening. What's the deal here between the federal funds rate and the 10-year Treasury? Because I can't believe I never noticed this before and like how significant this is. And I can't believe that nobody else has been talking about it. I don't think that I am the only person that saw this and discovered this. But I do think that this is a lot more significant and should be talked about on all of the streams. All of the streamers on crypto should be talking about this. Why they haven't is beyond me. Then again, maybe they just don't know. So today is 8/28, very important day in history. If you don't know, today was the day that Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. And in that spirit, I'm coming to you guys here and I gotta say, I have a dream. I have a dream of $15 trillion coming to crypto. I'm going to tell you all about that dream. First, I got to say this here. Nothing I give you here is financial advice. I got out of that business a long time ago, and man, I never want to go back to being a financial advisor. On that note, we'll do a stream about working in financial services. For anybody that is interested in doing that, I'll tell you what my experience on that was. One of these days, I'm going to do that stream in the near future. But everything I say here, none of it is financial advice. All the coins that I talk about here today, I'm not recommending that you buy them. I'm not endorsing them. I am highlighting them because either they're in the news or they are a good example of what I want to talk about today. There's three in particular I'm going to talk about today. Ethena, Ether.fi, and I forget what the other one was here. It was another coin kind of like in that spirit. Hang on, I got it over here. Hyperliquid. That's something that's been in the that's something that's been in the news a lot lately. Kirill, you almost got it here. You're onto something there with the crisis, because you see it's true here. Federal funds goes down when there's a crisis. See, that's usually the Fed reacting to the crisis by cutting the rates, reducing them, and pushing them down in a hopeful attempt to save the economy from destruction. That's typically what they do. They did it in 2001 after 9/11. They did it in 2008 with the financial crisis, and they did it with in 2020 with COVID. But that's there. So you're getting pretty close to like what I'm talking about, or getting pretty close to what I'm noticing. You're not quite there yet. You're very close, though. You're very close. So you keep scrutinizing that chart. But anyways, what I say is I have a dream, like Martin Luther King did on this exact day when he gave that speech in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And what I gotta say here is this dream is about trillions of dollars coming to crypto, at least $10 trillion in our market cap. Do you want to hear that dream? I said, do you want to hear that dream? Because I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to happen. On the thumbnail, it says, Stablecoins save the market, save the bull run. That's exactly what I think is going to happen here. Stablecoins, boring as they are and little as we may care about them, they're going to be what saves or is the main catalyst that sparks this bull run that's coming. All right. And here's like how I know this or how I think about this. I was reading on the Genius Act. The more I read it, the more I understand exactly what these guys are or what they were planning. This is something that Scott Bessent has had up his sleeve the whole time. I've been also reading a lot of Arthur Hayes because he's got those suspicions. He has a great analogy for it from the movie Silence of the Lambs. If you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs, definitely go watch it. It's a great picture. I mean, I think it even won Best Picture, actually. And it's one of like those few very rare times that a horror movie ever won an Oscar. Way back in the olden days when the Oscars actually meant something. They don't mean anything now. But man, back in the old days, because the movies were better way back in those days. That was the 90s. I think it was 1992 or 93 or something. But yeah, well, think back to Silence of the Lambs. And I tell you, like, you know what's interesting about that movie is that movie taught me a very, very important lesson. And here's what it was. Here is like, you remember that scene where Buffalo Bill is he's got a fake cast on. He's pretending to be injured, and he's pretending to struggle with loading a couch into the back of this van, and he's doing that to lure that poor girl that he kidnaps and captures. And she's out of the goodness of her heart wanting to help out this what she perceives as a very poor man. And because she's helping him, he gets her into the van and he kidnaps her. That taught me a very important lesson. That lesson was don't help anybody at all. Screw everyone. Screw the world. Y'all suck. Y'all can fend for yourselves. I'm not helping nobody. That's what that movie taught me. I don't help nobody now, especially strangers. Or even people I know. I don't help them at all. That was the hard lesson there. But from Silence of the Lambs, what the analogy is here is one of the most famous lines from it. No, it's not hello, Clarice. Not anything that Hannibal Lecter said, but what Buffalo Bill said, where he says it puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. Remember that line here. That's going to come back to us here in a little bit. So, when you got Buffalo Bill, who's kidnapping women, he throws them in a pit, he's starving them, and he wants to make a suit out of their skin. It's gross. It's also based on a true story. If you ain't heard of Ed Gein, he was a very famous serial killer that inspired not just Buffalo Bill, but was the inspiration behind Norman Bates in Psycho, and also the inspiration behind Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But imagine like a similar figure to Ed Gein or Buffalo Bill. Except, instead of sewing a dress made out of human flesh, he's fiddling with spreadsheets and trying to strangle the Eurodollar system. That Eurodollar system, if you haven't heard of it before, I'm going to make you an expert on it by the end of the stream, because that is what's looking to be tackled here by the U.S. Department of the Treasury. So Scott Bessent, think of him as Buffalo Bill in this analogy here, because he's about to do to offshore banking what Buffalo Bill did to innocent victims. All right? Kind of think of Buffalo Bill and Scott Bessent as being like the same guy here in this analogy. Kirill, you 38? Okay, right. You're the same. You're roughly the same age as I am, so you know what it's like there. Yeah, you know exactly what it's like. I know I age myself so much here on this stream with all the things about myself that I reveal. Oh, welcome, Hex Wizard. I see you there in the chat. Now let's talk about this whole Eurodollar thing and like why it matters. Once upon a time, Rome ruled the world. They had slaves. They had armies, legions. Well, today America rules the world. We're in place of Rome now. And we have a great military, yes. We also have debt slaves. And we have the dollar. But instead of being chained in fields, the modern slaves here in America are shackled to monthly payments. Your average 20-something, they queue up for debt like it's a roller coaster. Like, yes, please strap me in. Let me work for 40 years of my life to pay for a diploma that qualifies me to sit in the soulless office for McKinsey. The debt donkeys carry in the load, except instead of hay, they're rewarded with piss poor pay and LinkedIn endorsements. Now, the real engine of America isn't debt slavery, but dollar bills. U.S. dollar bills, global reserve currency ever since the Bretton Woods Agreement after winning World War II. You see, all of America's power, we owe it all to World War II. We owe it all to Germany and all the stunts that they pulled and the fact that we came in and kicked their butt. That is how America became the great superpower that it is. It's our greatest success. It's probably the greatest success in the history of our country forever. You know what our worst failure is, though? I mean, that's our greatest success, not just in the sense that like we saved the world, but also in the sense that the Bretton Woods Agreement made the dollar the world reserve currency. So it's one of our greatest financial successes as well. You know what one of our worst financial failures is, though? One of our worst financial failures was allowing a Eurodollar system to become established in the first place, to escape from the cage that we had all these dollars popped in here. Now, the Eurodollar market, well, let's explain to you what that is. It's something that popped up in the 1950s and the 1960s because everyone outside of the United States needed dollars. But America was just way too busy handcuffing its own banking system with rules like Regulation Q. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union needed somewhere to park its greenbacks without America, Uncle Sam, poking his nose in. And voila! Offshore banks started holding dollar deposits. And what began as a workaround metastasized into a parallel shadow system. So when you hear the term Eurodollar, what that means is foreign countries that hold U.S. dollar bills in foreign banks. We don't like that. If us Americans, we don't like that. What we wanted all along was for these foreigners to hold our dollar bills, but hold them in U.S. banks. Why is that? That's because U.S. banks, when they take your deposit, when they hold your dollar bills, what do they have to do with it? They have to put those dollar bills into what we call cash equivalents. What is a cash equivalent? Well, the big one that I talked a lot about last time was Treasury bills. So when we get foreigners to hold U.S. dollars and park them in U.S. banks, that means those dollar bills are used to buy Treasury bills, and that brings the interest rate on Treasury bills down because you see every dollar invested in a Treasury bill pushes the price of the Treasury bill up, and that pushes the yield down. That yield is also the interest rate on the national debt when it's a Treasury bill, when the national debt's being funded with the Treasury bill, which is a short-term debt, short-term piece of debt. All right. Oh, Kirill, I think you might got it there. He says federal funds never stay above treasuries for long. It's short peaks. All right, man, you are so close. I might give it to you if like nobody else gets it. Might give it to you there. All right, so Eurodollars. That is, I know they don't teach this in school. They need to teach this in school. But we just can't make kids financially literate. No, because it's not like they're going to use money for all of their life. No, they're not going to do that. So we don't tell them anything about Eurodollars. But Eurodollars is U.S. dollars in the hands of foreigners parked in foreign banks. And we Americans would much rather see them park it in American banks. All right? So it began as a workaround. And nobody knows really how big the Eurodollar market is. But there are some estimates of it, and those estimates are somewhere between $10 to $15 trillion. And it's just sloshing around the world like invisible balloons. Occasionally, invisible water balloons, actually. Occasionally they leak, occasionally they burst, and they flood entire economies. And every time it happens, the Fed has to print more money, like a parent bailing out a teenager that smashed the car again. Even the Atlanta Federal Reserve, they wrote a paper about this in 2024. It was called The Offshore Dollar and U.S. Policy, which is bureaucratic code for, hey, we've lost control of this monster. Please help. Now, here's where Buffalo Bill Scott Bessent comes in. He's standing at the edge of the pit. And his problem with Eurodollars is twofold. One, he has absolutely no idea how many exist. How many Eurodollars they are, he doesn't know. And he doesn't know what they're financing either. They could be propping up legitimate trade flows, or they could be funding an underground llama racing syndicate in Kazakhstan. Nobody knows. Two, the other problem is that none of these shadow dollars are being used to buy his stinky pile of Treasury debt. See, if they deposited these into a U.S. bank, the banks would invest those in Treasury bills. But since they're being held in foreign banks, they're not going into Treasury bills. And if there's one thing an American policymaker hates more than transparency and honesty, it's the idea of foreigners holding dollars without recycling them into Uncle Sam's bond market. So what's the solution? What's he proposing? He wants to skin the Eurodollar alive and wear it as a suit. He wants to consolidate control, introduce capital controls again, and drag every offshore deposit back onshore into American banks where it can be tallied, where it can be taxed, and where it can be tied to the snake eating its own tail, America's debt machine. So I just think of Scott Bessent kind of looking over the pit here and everything and says, it takes U.S. banks or else it gets the sanctions again. All right? Because you see, de-dollarization has become a problem for the United States. It's been going on since about 2008 when the U.S. kind of responded to its own financial meltdown, like someone responding to a heart attack, not by learning to jog or cut carbs, but by mainlining quantitative easing like heroin. Quantitative easing really became a thing after 2008. And the global central banks noticed that, and they were like, oh, so you're just going to print money to bail out your own gambling addict banks? Okay, cool. We'll be over here, and we're just going to buy gold instead. And that's the real barometer of trust. The percentage of gold in a central bank's reserve. Because you see, gold doesn't default. Gold doesn't get QE'd into oblivion. And gold doesn't send you condescending letters about your overdraft. So the higher the gold percentage, the less faith the world has in America's monopoly money. Or what you could also say is in America's money monopoly. So, got a chart here to show you, the first of many charts for today. So let me pull this one up here. How do I, will this work here? Yeah, this will work here. Let me zoom in on it. Like some people think, well, it's not a problem. It's not a problem yet, but it's about to become one. Let's check this out. You see, at first here, I mean, this was back in the 80s. People were really starting to trust the treasuries. So they held less gold. All right. Let me back out of here a little bit. What this shows you, like the yellow line, was how much gold that advanced economies, first world countries were holding. And then this line here shows like how much gold was being held by third world countries or emerging markets. All right. And then this line here is just like the world in totality. So it kind of was going down here from the 80s to the 90s, because those were some great times. Like, if you missed the 80s and the 90s, I feel really sad for you, because, man, those were Some great times to be alive. I mean, for one thing, everybody was hot back in the 80s and 90s. I don't remember that many ugly people back then. But when you look at this here, everything looked pretty good. Then 2000 comes around, it kind of stays flat. But then great financial crisis occurs, and the gold reserves start going up at a lot of these banks. They lull down a little bit, they settle down, but then they go right back up again. And it's been like that since 2020, really, is when they really started kicking that up here and everything. Because it's that or it's Treasury bills. And they don't want Treasury bills. They'd rather have gold instead. So gold has been going up as far as being the reserve asset for these banks as opposed to Treasury bills. And Scott Bessent, and really the entire U.S. government, doesn't like that. Like since 2009, the U.S. Treasury's been doing like their best impression of a melting snowman. They lost about 80% of their value against gold. And that's like watching your supposedly risk-free assets slowly drown in a kiddie pool. Gold's doing just fine, kind of sitting on the sidelines with a smug look on its face. And the government's response to all this was just bail out its banking system, shaft anybody that was unfortunate enough to be holding the debt. Foreign, domestic, didn't matter. Everybody got the same prize, which was a financial middle finger. I think I got the chart on that here too, as far as like what's been the value of the Treasury in comparison to gold. Let's see, let me show you that. Yeah, and that's this here. This is a Schiff. This is a chart here that gives Peter. It gets Peter Schiff salivating at the mouth because everything is that Treasury bill is losing so much value in comparison to gold, which we all kind of like predicted that that's a thing. It was like if you got a choice between the two, do you hold a Treasury bill or do you hold gold? You're gonna go with gold probably. All right. So naturally, foreign central banks, they stopped trusting Uncle Sam. They started hoarding gold like Scrooge McDuck diving into his vault. Can't really blame them. Now, Trump's take on this playbook is characteristically Trump. Not only to screw over bondholders, but slap tariffs on everything that moves. Foreign capital, trade flows, imported widgets, all taxed within an inch of their life in the name of making America great again. Basically, economic protectionism dressed in a red hat. All right? But here's the snag. Bessent can't exactly force central bank reserve managers to suddenly fall in love with treasuries again, because that romance is dead. But there's another audience out there, and that's the underbanked, the dollar-starved cohort in the global south. Everything kind of like south of the equator. That's millions of people, maybe even billions, condemned to live in governments that print monopoly money, like Zimbabwe. And they insist that, this monopoly money is good, it's legal tender of everything. And the domestic regulators, they force them to hold those currencies that collapse like drunk at 3 a.m. Like the Argentinian peso. You know about the Argentinian peso that has lost 97% of its value against the dollar in 7 years. 97%. That's like a rug pull right there. And I'll tell you, a lot of travelers who go to Argentina, they tell me, they go there mostly for skiing, but they say that they typically tip the waiter and the service staff in USDT, in Tether, because the local pesos are about as good as confetti. These people would crawl across broken glass for access to a safe, interest-yielding dollar bill account. They'd buy treasuries at whatever miserable yield Bessent dangled in front of them, not because treasuries are attractive, but because anything is better than their flaming dumpster fire currencies. And here's where Buffalo Bill finds his new toy, the stablecoin. Because you see, dollar peg stablecoins, they're suddenly all the rage in Washington now. You notice, like, that was the very first piece of legislation that they wanted to pass here when it came to this new pro-crypto administration. That is not an accident. The Genius Act had a very important purpose here. Because you see, the U.S. Treasury was once very skeptical of stablecoins, but now they're incredibly giddy about them. They realize that they can use them as a giant vacuum cleaner to suck all of the Eurodollar liquidity around the world and deposits from the global south. They're going to pick out a few stablecoin issuers and bless them as acceptable issuers, and then they're going to keep them on a short leash, and then the empire extends its dollar grip without even firing a shot. The stablecoins, they become the shiny new skin suit that Bessent can wear to offshore dollars, bring those offshore dollars back to American control. Now, what are the implications? These are massive implications for TradFi, those TradFi banks. It's going to be like going forward in a time machine because stablecoins can do their core business faster, they can do it better, and without the overhead of those marble lobbies. I mean, just wiring money is going to be a lot easier with stablecoins than using Federal Wire. Because with stablecoins, it's immediate. Federal Wire, it takes a whole day. For crypto degenerates like ourselves, it's going to feel like Christmas. Because America blessing stablecoins means DeFi adoption goes vertical. And that's where platforms like Ethena, Ether.fi, Hyperliquid, and even XRP, they're going to come into play here with all of this. They don't just survive, but they blast off. Absolutely blast off. And officially cause the re-dollarization of the world. See, the world has been trying to de-dollarize ever since 2008. But now, they're going to try to start re-dollarizing. All right. And let's see, I got a visual here to show you about how this is all going to play out here. Let me get this up here. This chart or infographic, diagram, whatever. You want to be very familiar with this here because this is how it's going to play out in all across the world here. All right. And what's this here? This is just kind of showing like how the stablecoin works here. Let's start with like what's an acceptable stablecoin. You got a dollar peg stablecoin that acts as a digital piggy bank with a lock on it. Instead of being stuffed with like crumpled $5 bills or pocket lint, it's stuffed with U.S. treasuries, which are supposedly risk-free IOUs that Washington is churning out like used candy wrappers. And you think of it like this here, is think of it as like a narrow bank. You give them $1, and they give you a token, and then they stick your dollar into the world's safest slot machine, Treasury bills. Why Treasury bills? Well, because they're short-term government debt that matures in less than a year, and that means they're about as risky as a turtle in a padded room. But they behave like cash, and they actually pay interest, which is where the magic happens. Starting from the top here, authorized participant. Sounds like a grand thing here, but it just means someone with a bank account. Let's suppose they wire $1 million into Tether's coffers. All right. Well, then what happens next is Tether creates 1 million shiny new USDT tokens, one for each dollar. All right, they're minted out of thin air. They didn't previously exist, now they do. And instead of leaving the dollar bills to rot in a checking account, Tether is going to take those dollar bills and buy $1 million worth of T-bills. Those T-bills will pay interest, which right now is about 4% to 4.5%. Tether is going to pocket that interest as net interest margin. It's just a financial term for free money just sitting there. Net margin interest. This is how your bank account is able to pay you interest on your savings account. Now, USDT itself pays you nothing. You just hold a digital dollar that doesn't grow while Tether is milking 4% on the back end like a vampire, screaming like a vampire just sucking the cream out of your coffee. But because crypto's full of degens, and we all demand some kind of yield, Tether or one of its friendly neighborhood exchanges might throw you a bone. They'll say, well, why don't you stake your USDT with us? Which is a fancy way of telling you to lock up your tokens in exchange for a fraction of the interest that they're already pocketing, that net interest margin. You're essentially giving them your lunch money to buy candy with, and they're rewarding you by letting you lick the wrapper. And the redemption, then, how do you redeem out of it? Well, it works in reverse. So you send your USDT back to Tether's crypto wallet. Tether sells off an equivalent amount of T-bills, and they wire you back the actual dollars, and then they burn the USDT and disintegrates. It ceases to exist. Like a paycheck on rent day. And that's it. That's the entire business model there for Tether. They receive dollars, they mint the digital poker chip, invest the real dollars in T-bills, and they keep the interest. Innovation. Glorified savings account. Well, here's where Buffalo Bill Bessent comes in. He wants this model formalized. In other words, if you're issuing a stablecoin that's deemed acceptable by the American empire, you're going to have to play by strict rules. And one of those strict rules is you got to hold your reserves in U.S. banks and U.S. Treasury bills. No shady offshore casinos, no innovative collateral like Beanie Babies or dog coins. Just boring old government-blessed debt. Nice, neat, controlled. There's nothing that says future of money like blockchain-powered wrappers for yesterday's T-bills, right? Now, talk about what implications this has for the Eurodollar market. So that's the kind of Eurodollar market is kind of phrase that like they don't teach you this in school here or anything. It's a phrase that just makes your brain collapse like a tower of toothpicks. Why is the Eurodollar market important in all of this here? I'll tell you exactly why. Is that for decades, whenever the Eurodollar system got itself tangled in its own shoelaces, Uncle Sam would have to swoop in like a hungover lifeguard and yank it back to safety. Because a broken Eurodollar market it's too important to fail in the eyes of the government. Like, if dollar bills overseas are not respected, that hurts America. So they don't let the Eurodollars fail. Now, we got stablecoins now. They have a shinier toy, dollar-pegged stablecoins that sit on the blockchain. And Bessent's plan is to redirect the giant gushing Eurodollar fire hose onto the blockchain. Because stablecoins are super easy to use. And if we peg them to treasuries like the Genius Act did, now we've got an easy, fastly adopted technology supplying demand for T-bills, bringing down the short end of the yield curve. See, we haven't shown this in a while. Don't know if we showed it here yet today, but let me show it to you here. Where is that yield curve at? This is the yield curve, by the way, when we look at the 3-month treasury all the way out to the 30-year. We can call this a droopy curve. The one that everybody pays attention to is the 2 and the 10-year, but I like to look at the whole thing. Hey, you see, at 3 months, it's up here, then it droops down and comes as low as it's going to get down at the 3-year, and then starts going back up. So it's more like the yield dip right now. And you see, it's because this here, there's not a lot of demand for these short-term treasuries, but once this gets going, when these stablecoin issuers start sucking in those Eurodollars, this end of the curve, from 3 months to 1 year, these yields are going to go down. So what I want you to take from this here is that the whole point of the Genius Act was to give Scott Bessent and the Treasury Department a way to do curve control, to bring down interest rates on treasuries, the interest rate that you pay or the government pays on the national debt, bring those down so that they can spend more money, and the government spending more money, that's flushing more money into our economy. That's money printing as well, because every Treasury bill issued is actually new money created on the spot, figuratively. This is how the money printing is going to initially get going. Who does this eliminate the need for? Whose job does this take away? It takes away the power. I don't know if it takes away the job, but it takes away the power of the Federal Reserve. What they're trying to do here with this is they're trying to make the Federal Reserve less relevant, less powerful, less influential. So we ain't got to be sitting at the edge of our seats at every Fed meeting for the rate announcement. And also they think, well, yeah, the Fed's going to be doing some cutting coming up here, but is the Fed going to cut enough to get the rates where we want them? Because the Trump administration wants those rates down a lot further. And really, all of us crypto people, we should want that too. But is the Fed going to do that? Can we rely on them to do that? No, we can't really rely on them to do it. This is why the Genius Act was so important, because it allows Scott Bessent to beat them to the punch and do that job for them, force the Fed's hands. Oh, hey, RH Max. Good to see you here. All right. So cast your mind back to 2008 when the world was on fire, subprime mortgages had gone splat. And those Eurodollar banks where they were gasping for dollars like suffocating goldfish. The Fed, in secret, funneled billions of dollars to them to bail them out because they didn't want the dollar to fail abroad. Like if a Belgian bank trips over its own shadow, the entire financial system has to be tucked into bed with a warm glass of milk. That bailout baked in a belief that Eurodollar deposits were safe, even though technically they weren't. Now imagine Scott Bessent strolling over with a megaphone and declaring, hey, guess what, you foreign banks? No more bailouts for you. Sincerely, America. Here's our financial middle finger. Suddenly, those Eurodollar depositors, they would normally, what they would be doing here is they're going to leap out of burning buildings faster than you could say implicit guarantee. Where are they going to go now? What they're going to do with those Eurodollars is they're going to stick them into Tether and other stablecoins like it. Because unlike the sketchy offshore banks, Tether parks its cash in U.S. banks and T-bills backed by the full faith and credit of the United States, which can always print more dollars. So instead of trusting an Italian bank named something like, that's what's a very shady name for an Italian bank? How about Banco di Oops, we lost it. Yeah, Banco di Oops, we lost it. That's the name of the bank there. You can park your money into that shady bank, or you can park it into Tether. So this is how trillions of dollars are going to come into stablecoins. We're talking 10 to 13 to 15 trillion dollars might be coming here into stablecoins, or some chunk of that. That's enough money to build a Death Star. That's enough money to buy Twitter, Meta, or TikTok. Buy all three of them twice. Where does all that cash go? It goes straight into T-bills because that's the only safe option. That means the humble stablecoin issuer has now become a voracious, price-insensitive Hoover vacuum gobbling up Treasury debt like a stoned teenager gobbling up Doritos. And here's the rub. Even if the Fed chair, Jay Powell, resists Trump's demands to slash rates or turn the money printer back on, fine, because Bessent can now just undercut him. He can flog T-bills at a lower rate, knowing stablecoin issuers have to buy them. See, the whole point of this is we want to kick the Eurodollars out of the shady banks, cram them into stablecoin issuers, because the stablecoin issuers have to buy T-bills, according to the Genius Act. Now the Fed is as relevant as, or irrelevant. Fed is as irrelevant as a Nokia ringtone. Remember those? I know I'm aging myself here again. So monetary policy is no longer going to be dictated by the Fed, or at least not as much. It's going to be dictated by Bessent himself. So you know what this means? This means we could see a return to zero interest rate policy or close to it, because if Jay Powell doesn't want to drop the rates, he can be forced to do that. And this is how they're going to force him. Now, at this point, why would we even keep the Fed around? I mean, why don't we just bulldoze it? We can stick up a statue of Bessent in Washington, like Cellini's Perseus that he's holding the head of Medusa. Well, we can update it. We can have Bessent holding up the head of Woodrow Wilson, because Woodrow Wilson was the reason we even have a Federal Reserve in the first place. All right. Now, what are the implications for the global South and how that's going to help us? American social media companies, Facebook and X, Twitter, YouTube, Google, all that. Those dopamine slot machines that you check when you wake up in the morning before you brush your teeth and you take your first piss of the day, those companies, they're quietly morphing into the monetary equivalent of a Trojan horse. But instead of warriors, they're going to be stuffed full of stablecoins. And instead of the noble conquest of conquering Troy, the prize is going to be turning the global South, the underbanked, taking their financial plumbing from leaking to very tightened pipes. Think of it. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, X. In much of the developing world, these aren't just apps. They're like oxygen. They're like utilities that people just can't live without. People use them to talk, to work, gossip, stalk their exes, and quietly ruin their circadian rhythms. If Mark Zuckerberg decided tomorrow to deliver all updates exclusively via interpretive dance, half the planet would start Googling, how do we interpret this here? What's this move mean? Now imagine if WhatsApp casually slipped in something as a shiny new feature, a built-in crypto wallet. Like 1 minute you're sending your aunt a photo of your cat, and then the next minute you're sending her $50 in USDT. The stablecoins, not the crypto that is volatile. Suddenly, WhatsApp isn't just a messaging app. Now it's your bank. Except this bank doesn't have the marble floors and pens chained to the counters or tedious lectures about overdraft fees. It just has Zuck lurking around in his Hawaiian bunker. What kind of people are going to benefit here from this? What's going to happen here with it? Oh, let's also go back to this chart here. So for those of you just joining us here, if you can figure out why I think this chart is significant, if you can point out the pattern that I see and why I am so bullish because of this chart, why I think this is such an important thing for us to worry about here, or maybe not worry about, but it's such an important thing for us to understand about this chart. If you could tell me why I think it's so critical that we should even be teaching this in schools, I'm going to send you a free copy of my book, Cryptonomics. And remember what this chart is. The green and red candles, that's the 10-year Treasury yield. The maroon is the federal funds rate. If you can figure it out, throw it in the chat. All right, so let's talk about how all these stable coins, like where they're going to get their money from. Yes, the Eurodollar zone is another, but also the underbanked. Think of a guy, let's call him Fernando. All right. Fernando runs a ClickBank farm in the rural Philippines. He runs a click farm there, which is basically the Willy Wonka of fake likes. He pumps out digital fraud for influencers in the United States. So they could buy fake Instagram followers and fake likes from him. Paying him is a real pain in the butt. It's a nightmare. Sometimes he does the work that he does. He doesn't get paid for it till a month later. Well, now, what if you have WhatsApp wallet that holds the stable coins? That means his clients can zap him some stable coins, and Fernando gets his money instantly And the local banking system is left looking like Blockbuster Video after Netflix showed up. And not the original Netflix where they sent you DVDs in the mail, but Netflix that does the online streaming. They already got some of this going on here. Like, there's a website called Black Hat World where you can do stuff like this. Right? You can buy like these digital marketing services here, and you pay with stablecoins. But what does this mean for, say, like the Philippine Central Bank? They suddenly notice that huge rivers of money have ghosted their official channels. They've lost control of the money supply in their own country. So if you're a central banker, that your whole job was to monitor that, what can they do? I mean, can they shut off the internet? No. They'd have a revolution in a week. They could try banning WhatsApp from the app stores, but that would backfire. I mean, you could make it disappear from the app stores, but humans are crafty addicts. I mean, they would be using VPNs, they'd be jailbreaking, or they'd sacrifice goats to get their social media back. Because see, it's not just a platform. It's heroin with a push notification. So if regulators start getting douchey, America has the nuclear option, and that is sanctions. Because if you remember, the elites in these countries, they already keep their cash stashed in US dollar bills in offshore accounts because they don't. They're saying we will not trust the local institutions, secretly wiring all their money to a Delaware shell company. But say if President Marcos ever decided to get douchey with Meta, all it would take is a flick of the sanctions switch, and suddenly, poof, his cronies got their billions frozen faster than lasagna in a cryogenic storage system. All right? His mom went through this once. Imelda Marcos, she already knows how long Uncle Sam's legal arm is. She dodged some RICO charges back when she and her late husband were buying Manhattan skyscrapers with borrowed Filipino money. So Marcos doesn't want to try round two. So you see now why Trump is so pro-crypto. I mean, this really, what this really reveals to me here, Trump can use this for protectionism, kind of like a form of national security. But what this really reveals to me and makes abundantly clear for me is that Gary Gensler was 100% a threat to national security. You guys remember that scumbag? I'll tell you, something that pissed me off so much earlier this year. When I saw somebody post this, I just wanted to kick them right in the balls. I saw posts where people saying, I miss Gary Gensler. No, we don't need that douchebag. He was a threat to national security because his vilification and crusade against crypto kept a lot of this from being developed, and our economy suffered dramatically because of it. I got to relitigate the past there. God almighty, I was so angry when people were posting that. So if this thesis is right, well, in stablecoins, they're not just fintech gimmicks. They're going to be the spearhead of this bull run and the spearhead of America's resurgence in the world. You can forget about tanks, military bases. Now the empire is going to expand with emojis, stablecoins, and dopamine addiction. The local governments are going to be powerless against this because they'll be trapped between like their citizens' craving for Facebook likes and then Washington's appetite for global dollar dominance. How big is the prize? When you combine the Eurozone, the Eurodollars, and when you combine the underbanked and the global South, that's roughly $34 trillion waiting to be vacuumed up. We got $4 trillion just in BRICS, when you leave out China from the BRICS. But because like we see China, they've banned all of the apps for all the social apps that we have here in the United States. They want their own so they can monitor it. But we've got another 16 in the Eurozone. Another 16 trillion there, and it's wobbling like a drunk giraffe. You give it a few years, and the euro will be good for a little more than buying overpriced roses in St. Tropez, all right? So that's the jackpot. There's billions of people, and then if we got, say, a WhatsApp wallet, and local central bankers be standing around like these baffled mall cops when they see, like, hey, where'd all the money go? That all went to stablecoins, and it's all being swapped on these social media app wallets. Now, why do I think Buffalo Bessent is gonna do this here? I'll tell you exactly why I think he's gonna do this. Because he's only looking at two options. He has got to do this, or the Democrats get reelected. It's as simple as that. Because for a man of his temperament, I mean, going Democrat and causing them to come back into power, that's going to be as painful as like slowly decapitating yourself with a rusty tin opener. He wants Team Red to win in 2026. So he's got to get really hot on this here because the midterms are going to be starting up in about February next year. And also in 2028, when the Oval Office is up for grabs again, he wants to make sure that goes to Team Red. All right? Because if we don't turn the economy around and start making Americans feel like they have net worth mobility and income mobility, upward mobility in general, thinking like they have options and that they're free here in the country, Republicans ain't getting reelected. All right? We'll see that play out here next a few more years when the White House is up for grabs again, like a discounted dildo on a WNBA court. So how do you win these elections? How are you going to win the midterms? How are you going to win the White House again? You're going to win it by being the king of freebies. See, this is why some people, like some analysts out there, they're going to say that it doesn't matter who's president. And to a certain degree, they're right. Because whoever's president, they're going to print money. This is why, like, every single 4 years of the life of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin cycle had been going on and on every 4 years. All right. Kirill, you are so close to guessing what the deal is with the chart. All right. So they give away freebies by printing money. All right. Think of like shoving more goodies into the hands of plebs like Mam Danny would or AOC would. You see, they're the ones that are advocating crap like, free college and free healthcare. But how about free money teleported directly into your WhatsApp account faster than you can type, "Oh, thanks, Daddy Government"? That's the level of bribery that we're talking about here. Like, I think what's going to happen is you get these WhatsApp wallets or these Facebook wallets, and it was just recently saw this in the news here that they're contemplating what's called a dividend to go out to all American citizens from the tariffs. All right, remember at first, like they were talking about a $5,000 tax refund from the Doge cuts. Well, they never did the Doge cuts. They got to keep that spending. If they cut spending at all here, that it was going to hurt GDP. But tariffs, it's probably like why Trump was like so pro-tariff all along here. They're saying they've raised enough money from the tariffs to be able to pay a dividend to every American citizen, and this could be how they pay it. You see, this is why I think Trump's organization is investing so heavily in Ethereum. Even when it was going down, they kept buying more and more Ethereum. Why is that? Maybe because this was their plan all along, is let's get a digital wallet and let's send a dividend from the tariffs to every American citizen, specifically in stablecoins. And there's a good reason they want to do it in stablecoins, not just send a check. I mean, for one, they want to get everybody on a digital ledger here. And a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh my God, this is the the CBDC, which kind of is, but it's to bribe Americans. That's the point here, is they want to bribe Americans to help themselves get reelected. Now, these freebies aren't free. Somebody has to vacuum up all those treasuries that are being vomited out by Uncle Sam like confetti at a dead orgy. That's also the reason they want to do this. They want you using stablecoins because those stablecoins force the stablecoin issuers to buy the T-bills. The T-bills allow them to lower interest rates. Lower interest rates allow them to print and spend more money. That's what we want. All right? Because what Bessent needs to make all this happen is he needs a price insensitive buyer. He needs a buyer that is not sensitive to price. Someone, anyone, willing to guzzle down these T-bills like a hungover student demolishing Taco Bell at 3 a.m., all right? He's made these cues that stablecoins are going to be his answer, and dipping into that pool is cute, but half measures don't cut it. He needs to go all the way, all right? Forget just dipping in. He has to do a cannonball, ass first, straight into the deep end while screaming, America! That's what he needs to do here to get this going. And if the Eurodollars and the deposits of the global south and the tragically broke Europeans, if they don't flow into stablecoins willingly, then he'll have to travel to Bismarck and he'll have to travel overseas and force them into compliance with the subtlety of Godzilla. And he's going to say it just like this here. Like Buffalo Bill, he's going to lean all over him and says, it puts the dollars on its skin, or else it gets the sanctions again. Because you see, America doesn't do please. It says, here's what America does. It says, you comply or you will starve. And the numbers that are coming from this are huge, guys. Huge. I mean, just $10 to $13 trillion from the Eurodollar zone. Could be up to $16 trillion because we don't really know how much is in there. And what that's going to be doing, man, when you have that much of T-bill buying power, that pushes down the interest rates whether Powell wants to bring them down or not. I mean, you're smashing up Europe's shadow banking piñata to see how much candy falls out of it. And then you got another 21 trillion that we think might be there from the retail deposits of the global south, everything below the equator, the debt-addled Europeans. I mean, it's almost $35 trillion here that could come into stablecoins. I don't think all of it's going to come into it, but a big chunk of that could. If we just get 10 trillion from that into stablecoins, that has enormous positive implications. Now, not every cent's going to go into it. Like, some will evaporate, some will get stolen, some's going to fund someone's mistress in Monaco. But as like the total addressable market, it's huge. It's enough to make the average DeFi bro shit his pants looking at a pie chart. And I'll tell you exactly how it's going to happen here. Like, you get this money into stablecoins, you might be thinking, well, yeah, okay, great. This money goes into stablecoins, but how does that help our bags? I'm not invested in stablecoins. Even if I was, other people having stablecoins doesn't help my stablecoins because they don't go up in price. That's why they're called stablecoins. Why does this matter? There's a very good reason why this matters here and why I think they're going to spark the bull run. And here's the real question, though. If we got up to 34 trillion in deposits that could get funneled into stablecoins, how does that affect DeFi? Does it explode into like some new digital renaissance of yield farming and decentralized Ponzi schemes that are affectionately referred to as protocols? And can anyone make a credible argument that this doesn't end in a hallucinogenic orgy of speculation with new billionaires being made? And an inevitable crash that'll make 2008 look like a compressed fart in a yoga class. I'll tell you exactly how this is going to play out for DeFi. Before we dive into that, though, let's talk about staking. Because even though it sounds like an Elizabethan punishment with involving spikes and entrails, maybe how you kill a vampire, right? All it means is it's just locking up your coins so they can earn interest. Us Hexicans are very familiar with staking. But imagine that some chunk of that 34 trillion that goes into stablecoins, imagine first, let's say it all floods into Tether. All right. All flows into Tether. Now we got competition going on here because Circle is going to be like, hey, we want some of that euro money. We want some of those euro dollars coming into our stablecoin. So to attract those euro dollars into our stablecoin, what they're going to do at Circle is offer a higher yield than Tether. They'll say, hey, why don't you bring your Tether over here, buy our USDC, and watch it magically reproduce at a higher rate. All right, now let's go back to Fernando, the click farmer in the Philippines. Say he's got $1,000 in USDT, and he deposits it onto a crypto exchange. We'll say Well, we always say Binance because they just like legalized Binance here in the United States. Very bullish, by the way. Or maybe not Binance. How about OKX or something like that? Because they also legalized that one. All right. So when he does that, they wave a wand when he stakes it and give him a shiny new token. All right. So it'd probably be like BSUSDT for Binance staked USDT, or maybe OSUSDT for OKX staked USDT. And yeah, it's all one for one. Because like one tether equals one stake tether, but every day the stake tether quietly fattens itself up like a pig on steroids. Say we got maybe even just a 2% annual yield. By year end, that $1,000 turns into $1,020. We got interest-bearing money now. He locks his stablecoins, gets a magic coupon back, and suddenly that coupon is tradable as collateral all across DeFi. He can now borrow, he can lend, he can gamble, he can lose his savings 10 different ways, all while earning yield. Like mortgaging your house, getting an IOU, and immediately betting it on Greyhounds, all right? When he wants his money back, he burns the staked tether. He receives the $1,020 in tether. But where does that extra $20 come from? That comes from Tether's net interest margin, which, do I still got the chart up here? Let me show you that. Let me get that back up. Comes from here, the net interest margin that they are paying from their T-bills. But they pay it back to him in Tether, not in actual dollars. All right. And that's all important here. I'll tell you exactly why. In the meantime, let me get this chart back up here to see if y'all can figure it out. All right. So we got a dual system going on here. You got a dual system. You got the base money, which is US dollar tether. And then you've got the staked tether, the interest-bearing money. Now, all that money floods into DeFi. Think of like real cheap vodka into a freshman's bloodstream at college. That's how it floods in. Both become accepted collateral. Both grease the gears of lending, borrowing, trading, derivatives, and the Ponzonomics that we call protocols in DeFi. But here's where things get fun. When someone locks their assets into a DeFi protocol, like staking your tether, it contributes to total value locked, the TVL. I'm sure you've heard this word before, or this acronym, TVL. I'm sure you heard it a gazillion times before. It's the crypto world's favorite vanity metric. They like to act like it's one of the most important things, like GDP. Except instead of measuring output, it just measures how much money people have duct taped into a blockchain. So if you got a high TVL, everybody claps. If you got a low TVL, well, everybody panics. But in reality, TVL is the top of the funnel. It's a leading indicator of how much trading and gambling and fee churning will happen. All right? Now, let's pretend that we know the future. Let's make some assumptions here about this. So say end of 2028, be like the horizon on all this, because that's when Trump shuffles off the stage. Probably, or maybe he tries to run for a re-election again here. Who knows? And let's think worst case scenario here that Democrats win. It's somebody just like Kamala Harris or Gary Gensler types. And they're going to come in here and be like, we hate crypto. Blah, blah, blah. We don't like your money laundering. Or it's Elizabeth Warren. All right, Elizabeth Warren's going to be like, that Bitcoin thing. We can't allow our people in the United States to have that because Bitcoin. That's exactly how she says it. She says, Bitcoin, like some kind of chicken or some kind of hen. That Bitcoin, we can't let our people invest in that because then they might actually get rich. And we don't want that now, do we? So let's say that she wins because, it's just maybe like the MAGA people are too disillusioned to show up to the polls because, like, Yeah, Trump has promised to do 50 years of campaign promises in 4 years, which is just not possible. Whoever inherits the White House, though, is going to spend 4 years suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. And in order to do that, in order to try to overcome that, what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to print money. They will be printing money with one hand while insisting, oh, it's a totally different type of money printing with the other hand. And they'll posture, they'll bitch and moan, but then they'll cave. Because without stablecoins soaking up T-bills, the empire will collapse faster than a Jenga tower in an earthquake. It's going to disintegrate faster than your brain cells scrolling through TikTok if you don't have those stablecoins supporting the T-bill market. Now we get a bubble, and then we get a bear market, of course, like the wobble between the Trump-era free money, the carnival, and a Democrat who's up there saying, I'm not Trump. They're going to inflate a monstrous crypto bubble as well, and then it's going to detonate spectacularly. You can think of like SBF on amphetamines, except this time the entire financial system would be going down with it. And I think that the coming bear market, maybe not this one, but the next one is going to be so devastating, it may be the end of America. That's what I say, like expatriation might need to be your goal after this bull cycle. But that's another conversation. We'll stream about that some other time. But as far as the stable coins, I think by the year 2028, at least 10 trillion of them will be in circulation. And why is that? Well, one, the deficit is multiplying faster than a bunch of horny rabbits. Bessent's solution is to paper over it with T-bills. Here are the rates that are going to result from that. The federal funds rate, I know Trump wants a 2% cut in that, but Bessent says, right now it's too high. So let's say it comes down to 2%. I still think the 10-year Treasury will be high. I think it'll be 5%. Because you see, you got the 2% inflation and then 3% real growth, because GDP numbers just came out. They said, well, we grew by 3% in the last quarter. And what the 10-year Treasury yield is supposed to represent is growth expectations plus inflation. All right? So that's what it's going to be here. You'll have a 2% federal funds rate and a 5% 10-year Treasury yield. And that, my friends, is related. That is related to this chart that I'm showing you here. This chart that I'm trying to see, has anybody figured it out yet? It's all related to this. When the maroon line comes down, and then green candles go up above the maroon line, something phenomenal is going to happen that is going to make all of us very, very rich. So we got potential upside that's enormous. I'm talking like bigger than Sam Bankman-Fried's, oh, I haven't slept in a week habit, enormous. All right, bigger than any dot-com boom, bigger than anything some jaded portfolio manager has had a wet dream about since 2008. Like all good manias, it ends in fire and ruin. There'll be some documentaries made on it. But the amount of money coming in just to stablecoins is enormous. Now, what coins do I think are going to benefit the most here from this? Getting this much in stablecoins, a lot of them are all ERC20s, but really there's a lot of stablecoins can be on any sort of chain. I think Ethereum benefits from it tremendously. I think this is why Trump has been investing so heavily in Ethereum, because he was planning to do this all along. Because the more of these stablecoins coming onto Ethereum is going to be more TVL onto Ethereum. I think that Ether.fi is going to benefit from this tremendously. And again, I'm not endorsing or recommending that you buy this. But you see, this DApp, Ether.fi, it lets you transform stablecoins into a Visa debit card. It could be virtual, it could be physical, but it actually works in the real world. So I think this will benefit from it. Ether.fi will even extend your credit against your crypto balance. And this isn't just about like buying snacks in 7-Eleven. Like, this isn't really for us, so I'm not saying like you go out and get one of these cards. I'm saying this is big because people in the poor global south, the underbanked people who've spent decades trapped in banking systems that were practically held together by duct tape and bribes, now they're going to be able to pay for goods anywhere on the planet with a crypto card. That's a financial revolution. For the first time, you're going to have money that moves as fast as the internet. It's frictionless, it's borderless, and it's available to anybody with a smartphone. So Ether.fi, I think, is going to benefit a lot from it. I would also say that I think Ethena will do that as well, because Ethena lets you lend stablecoins and get the scoop of some of that net margin, that net interest margin. And two ways you could lend your crypto in today's world is like through miners. You hand it over to miners, or you can hand it over to speculators. Ethena lends to the speculators, so they give you a high yield opportunity through the people that want to do shorting or do the futures or the perpetual swaps. Cash and carry strategies is what they call those. But speculators, they pay rates above the T-bill rates. So remember that competition that's going to kick off over net margin interest and the interest you earn from staking. Ethena is probably going to be offering something higher than all of them, and that's going to attract a lot of money to Ethena. And again, I'm not saying buy it. I'm saying that I think they're going to benefit just from these coins doing what they do. Hyperliquid, I think, would also be benefit from it because they control about 67% of the DEX market. So they're not just kicking Binance's butt, but they're about to become like the new king of all crypto exchanges. I mean, like, I hadn't even heard of this thing until like a week ago, and it's already number 12 in all of the coins. You can think of it as like a decentralized Binance. It's like the we know how DEXs work. I mean, we're all familiar with PulseX and Uniswap. But this one is powered completely by stablecoins. All powered by stablecoins. So when you have $10 trillion that are pegged to stablecoins, well, then Hyperliquid's value, even the fully diluted value, could explode proportionately, exponentially. I mean, some people are saying that Hyperliquid could do a 125x from where it's at right now. Where's it at right now? Let's have a peek here. And again, I'm not endorsing or telling you to buy it. So here it's at $45.91. How much is that? So that'd make it an $18,000 coin. I know that sounds unbelievable right now. It sounds absolutely unbelievable because, like, the only coins that have gone up into the thousands of dollars, there's only 3 of them. And that's, I think there's only 3 of them. There's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Maker. Don't believe there's any other coins that do that. Let's check real quick. Don't believe there's any other coins in the thousands. Well, there's some here. Pax, Tether Gold. Yeah. Like, some of these other guys are close. Like Binance is close. I know MakerDAO is like $1,500. But yeah. Hyperliquid. That they think it could go all the way up to 18,000. That'd be incredible there. There's MakerDAO. Yeah, it's at 1,500. Could happen. Who knows? Oh, it looks like somebody's trying to solve the mystery here. Sunlight says 10-year bond yield comes down. Money exits there looking for a higher yield. Some goes to crypto. That's right. That's right. But that's not what I was pointing out with this chart. But what you said is correct. Still, nobody's got the mystery here on the chart yet. That's all right. I'll reveal it to you in just a minute. So what all this is here is Buffalo Bill Scott Bessent is about to go full slaughter mode on the Eurodollar system and all of the non-dollar depositors worldwide. And there's no Clarice Starling in sight to stop him. How far is he going to go? Well, it depends on how much the U.S. government decides to spend. My guess is they want to spend a lot of money because Trump, he's not here to balance your budget or balance the federal budget. He's not here to trim the fat because they didn't enact any of the Doge cuts. He's here to win elections. And the way to win elections is to print money. He wants to keep his power, not just for like the next person to succeed him, but he wants to keep his power in his own term. He's got to win the midterms. So no ideology, just votes, and votes require goodies. So Bessent is going to turn into Buffalo Bill and tell all of these Eurodollars out there and all of the unbanked, it puts your dollars into stablecoins or else it gets the sanctions. All right. The deficit, I think that's going to keep widening because the growth to fund it keeps shrinking. And the market, as usual, it's allergic to owning debt in a weakening currency. So stablecoins are here to save the day. They're not just going to save and spark the bull run. They're going to save the country because it's the ultimate T-bill bailout. Dollars on the skin or sanctions again. Sanctions could be wielded like a chainsaw, really. Dollar peg stablecoins are going to be like an axe, and Bessent is like the executioner going to the rest of the world. And he's going to have the tech bros on his side. Zuckerberg, Musk, everyone. And here's how you know this is happening is when you see headlines like this here in the news. Headlines like, offshore U.S. dollar markets require oversight, or Eurodollars require oversight, or dollar swap lines from the Fed or from the Treasury are now contingent on U.S. tech. U.S. tech to access foreign digital markets, or stablecoin issuers must hold dollars in U.S. banks or T-bills. There'll be encouragement for stablecoin issuers to do IPOs and list their stock on U.S. stock markets. When you see crypto wallets get integrated into social media apps that anyone can use, and when you got general positive PR from the Trump administration on stablecoins, you know that this is happening. All right. Now back to this chart here that I've been talking about this whole time. I've been teasing it and everything. So, anybody got any guesses as to like why I think something significant is about to happen here? Yeah, Kirill, since you've been so close this whole time, I think I'll go ahead and give it to you. Just send me a DM on X, and I'll make sure you get your book. Anybody got any idea, though, why I'm highlighting this? Going once? Going twice? All right, nobody knows. So here's what it is here. Here's the deal. The reason why this is important is take a look here at the... hang on. Let me zoom in just a little bit. When we look at the periods of where the federal funds rate exceeded the Treasury yield, those were not good times in our country, or they were just before bad times in our economy. Like, you know, here, 1991 was a rough year. And then again, here is where it exceeded and then crossed down over. I think we had another rough year right around 1996. But this one right here, and we know what happened just before? 9/11. Because, let's see, we get right here. It's not quite September 11th, but September 1st. The federal funds rate is going down, and the Treasury yield is going up. When they cross over, that occurs just before a disaster or right as the disaster is occurring, because one, it's response from the Federal Reserve to save the country or save the economy. They drop the rate down to zero when a disaster strikes. And then two, when you have a 10-year Treasury go up, the reason the 10-year Treasury is going up is because people are selling out of it because they want to pocket their money and park it in somewhere short term, like the T-bills instead of the 10-year bonds. Because they're like, oh my God, the U.S. government might not be around in 10 years or something. They think the end of the world is coming, so they don't want to be invested for 10 years. They sell the 10-year Treasury. Next time it happened was right here, 2008. Yeah. The Treasury bills, or the Treasury bonds, the 10-year Treasury bonds themselves, they went up on their own this time. They were going up by themselves. And then right here was when the crisis struck here. I think that it was October when Lehman Brothers failed. This might have been when Bear Stearns failed. So the Federal Reserve had to drop the rates down almost to zero then in order to save the country. What about this one right here? Let's see. We're at remember 2019. Keep saying this. There was no reason to cut the rates in 2019. And I think that is why Powell is so hesitant to cut the rates now, because he knows he really screwed up in 2019. He should not have been cutting the rates. Because right here, this is where COVID broke out. He did not have as much room left to cut. He had to go all the way down to zero because he cut prematurely right here. Had he stayed right here and then COVID happened, he could have cut down to just right here and saved the economy. All right? So the federal funds rate was exceeding the 10-year Treasury. When that's occurring, when the federal funds rate is up versus the 10-year Treasury, I mean, what that should tell you is that is the precedence of a recession, or at least when they admit one, or when they admit a recession is happening, or when a disaster is happening. Because the Fed raises rates to get the economy under control. They're trying to stop the growth, the expansion of the money supply. They're saying, well, it's getting too hot and inflation is getting hot. We got to control it. They're trying to stop that. And that's after the economy's been good for a long time. The 10-year Treasury is lower than the federal funds rate because a lot of people are plowing into it thinking, oh, I better lock in this safety of a Treasury for 10 years because a bad economy is coming. George Gammon, he's got a great YouTube channel, Rebel Capitalist. He actually believes that the 10-year Treasury sometimes is based off of inside information. Like when you have an inverted yield curve because the 10-year Treasury is lower than the 2-year, he thinks there's a lot of that could be inside information, that these guys that are investing in those Treasuries, they know what's going on there. They get told by their brokers or their bankers, hey, you should buy these 10-year Treasuries because something bad's about to happen here. Look at where we're at right now. The 10-year Treasury has risen, but not as fast as the federal funds rate. The federal funds rate has risen here. And it looks like they cut prematurely again. Like over here, they cut prematurely, and they had to go down to zero over here. But you see here, when they did the cuts, just like when they did the cuts over here, they did not cross the 10-year. You see, when they do their cuts, what they want to see happen is they want to see, the federal funds rate is going down because they're cutting it. They want to see the federal funds rate go down, but they want to see it go down past the 10-year Treasury, and they want that 10-year Treasury yield to go up past it. They want them to cross over and make an X. When that doesn't happen, they stop cutting. They go, oh, God, we're messing up here. We can't cut no more. We're pausing. And that's what this period of time has been right here. This flat line, that's them saying, oh, but it's not doing what we want it to do. In fact, there was concern about how Treasury yields were rising as they were cutting, and also mortgage rates were rising as they were cutting. And that caused a bunch of concern for them. All right. So this chart is something I say pay very, very close attention to. Because when those two rates cross, when the 10-year goes up and the federal funds goes down and they cross over, we're in for some very crucial times here. Now, at first, it could be bad. I think that we might have a drop in the markets when we get our first cut coming up here in September. I think we could have a drop in the markets. It could be a minor one. But I'm going to tell you right now, prepare for a frightening cut, a frightening drop in the markets. Prepare for a horrifically frightening, confidence-killing drop. I don't know like how far it could go, but prepare yourself to see Bitcoin at $50,000, all right? I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm saying prepare for it. We could get a really big black eye from that first rate cut, especially if the two yields cross over. I kind of think of it as, in that movie Ghostbusters when they had the proton packs, and they said, whatever you do, do not cross the streams. This is what happens when these two yields cross over. It's like crossing the streams. At first, it causes some super destruction, and it kills investments. And then what happens is like all the people that have been hodling thinking, oh, yeah, there's a bull run coming right here. Or, oh, hey, why hasn't the bull run happened? We should be in a bull run right now. Why ain't it going on? I'm thinking, man, I really want to get out. This causes them to get out. And they sell on the way down. They lock in losses too. We kick those people out because they're not real hodlers. When you get all of those kind of, I guess you can call them like fake bull market participants, they don't really know what they're doing. They're just here because, oh, they heard that the bull run was coming. When you kick all those people out, we really have hit bottom, and there's nowhere to go but up. Because the only people that are going to be investing after a crash like that are the people that really believe in it and are really willing to hold it. And when they buy at a lower beat down price, the lower the price they buy at, especially after horrifically ugly red candles, like the uglier the candle before their purchase, the more convicted their purchase is, the more convicted their investment is. Oh, why am I bringing this to your attention here? Like, I think we get a drop when the two yields cross over. After that, though, it's up only when we got our 6 months of parabolic green candles that blow your mind. So watch these two yields. They are your most important indicator. Here's what else I say to it. What's up? We can get the camera right into these eyes here. Now, I got something that's probably going to be the most important thing you're going to hear all week, maybe all month, maybe the most important thing you're going to hear this year. I know what you're feeling because I've felt it too. At the beginning of this year, we were so excited because it's the fourth year of the cycle. It always goes up this year. On top of that, we got a very pro-crypto government coming in. We were expecting to be rich and retired already. We were expecting to have cashed out by now, probably. We didn't get that. It's been nothing but a very difficult market to be in. It's been very painful for a lot of us, especially in Hex and Pulse Chain. It's been very painful because we still got people that we need to kick out of this ecosystem. When these streams cross over, though, we're going to see a lot of those people leave. Like all the PDI crap, that's going to be all over with when these two yields cross over. So I know that it's not been easy for you. Someone else out there, specifically I want to talk to, KDP. You all remember KDP? I know it wasn't easy for you to endure what you've endured. You feel like you've been let down. You feel like you've been betrayed. And we could really say this to all the Hexkins out there. You all feel let down by your community. You feel betrayed by them because we've been having to eat crow for almost 4 years now. And we don't even have our founder to come out and be our champion like he used to be. He's got lawyers that are telling him don't talk, and he listens to them because he pays them millions of dollars. But I'm telling you, I'm not wrong. Look at the chart. Look at where the two yields are. Look at all of the information I've shown you on today's stream. I know it's messy. I know it's not easy to grasp, and I know it's not pretty, and it's not as simple. It's not simple at all. I'm not wrong. The bull run has not even started. It might not start for a little while longer. I think we got a tough time ahead of us in the next 2-3 months. But after that, life is going to get good. So I think this is the most important thing for you to hear right now. Watch this chart. Keep an eye on those yields. And don't do anything stupid. Even though I think some downward price action is coming, I'm not saying sell all your coins now. And I'm not saying that you should plow in a whole bunch right now. I still say just do a little bit of dollar cost averaging all on the way. That's what I'm doing, at least. Do a daily DCA. I buy $10 a USDC every day on Coinbase, and then when I see red candles, I take the accumulated amount and I plow it into my favorite coins. You can do that if you want to do something. But it's not over because it hasn't even begun. This chart proves that I'm right. Not only that, but why do you think I can't get a single bear to come on stream with me and hash this out with me? And I've even told them, like, hey, you want to debate? Here's what we'll do. I'll go on mute when you talk, and I'll be civil. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to hurt your fifis. We'll go on a neutral third party's channel so they can moderate the debate. Every single time I've offered that, sometimes the bears, they all say, well, yeah, I'll do it anytime, anywhere. But when it comes time to actually schedule it, they all chicken out. Why do you think that is? Because I'm not wrong. This chart proves me right. You guys know any bears out there? Why don't you just tag me and say, hey, if you think you're so right about your bearish bull, you're about your bearish beliefs, debate this guy. Because you know what? I want opposing views. Matter of fact, one guy out there, T-Bird, got nothing but respect for you and everything. This ain't me calling you out or insulting you or anything, but T-Bird, I want to stream with you because I want to hear why you think this bull run has to end this year. I heard the same thing from Ben Armstrong today. Y'all know Ben Armstrong is back streaming and everything. Hey, Ben, it's great to have you back, brother. But why are you so bearish? He's very bearish, unlike before. I mean, I think it's mainly because he doesn't have any crypto anymore. It was all stolen from him, and any crypto he had afterwards, he lost from all the other bad things that have happened to him and everything. Oh, yeah, by the way, you dumbasses over at Piss Cover Crypto, I heard your lies about Hex today. Yeah, I heard your lies. And you know what? You guys are thieves. And we can see that you're buying views. We can see that you're buying comments. Just look at the comments on their video. Those are not natural comments like I got in my videos. So yeah, you guys are frauds. You guys are thieves. And you're gonna crash and burn. And when the bear market comes, you guys will be forgotten about. And to think of all the trouble you went through to steal that channel. I'm going to get off that tangent. Back to everybody here in Hex. KDP, especially you, I understand why you're upset and why you don't want to be part of this community anymore. Everybody watching, I understand why you feel like this community's let you down or it's betrayed you, it's stabbed you in the back, and sometimes you feel like quitting. I feel like quitting sometimes. I mean, I hope that T-Bird is right, that this thing does end this year, that the pop comes in the next 3 months and we can cash out and not have to deal with any of this anymore. I hope that happens. I think it's going to take longer. I think it's possible that the rest of this year sucks. But the bull run hasn't begun. Coin market cap has proven me right. Look at the 30 market top indicators. All 30 of them. Not a damn one has happened. And this chart proves me right more than anything else. So, guys, I know you're beaten down. I know you want it to end. I know you want Richard to come back and destroy all of our enemies. And I know it sucks watching Eric Wall make off with the money. Katie, this is what Eric Wall knew when he made his bet with you. All you Hexicans out there that made bets with Eric Wall, this is what he knew when he made those bets. That's why he was so happy to do it. And yeah, he's being a jerk out there dunking on Hex, saying, oh, I won the bet because Hex sucks. I won the bet because Pulse Chain sucks, even though he holds bags of all of them. This is what he knew. We can take our ball and go home. Or, now that you know the truth, now that you know what's really going on, use this. See, this is what I used to do in my old business, my coaching business for men. They would all get so upset when I would show them the way things really were on how, like, hey, man, this girl that you're obsessing over, she doesn't even think about you. She's probably getting dirty with some guy named Blade, and you don't even, a thought of you doesn't even cross their mind. And he's just, they get all nihilistic and everything. Like, how can you say that? I just want a wife and everything. I'm not making fun of these guys. I was there to counsel them and everything. But I had to tell them like some very difficult, very painful truths. It's very painful when you take a very idealist young man and you say to him, hey, there's no such thing as unconditional love. You're not going to experience it, all right? The only unconditional love you're probably ever going to, the closest thing you'll ever experience to it is from your mother, and that's it. Because there ain't no woman in today's world that's going to love you unconditionally. And they would get so upset, like, ah! And I'm just like, I understand you're upset here and everything, but now you know the true and correct and accurate information. Use this because it's going to help you live a better life than 99% of every other guy out there. 99% of crypto is not paying attention to this. Use this, and you will do better than 99% of all the other investors out there. Right? That's what I've got to say today. All right, so Kirill, send me a DM on Twitter, and I'll make sure you get your book. Everybody else, we're trying to do a lot more streaming here lately. Haven't been able to get into it. I meant to do a lot more this week. Might do some more next week. We'll see. It just all depends on how much stuff there is to stream about. But it also just depends on how much time I've got to do it with here and everything. But anyways, this is on this chart here. If you go to TradingView, just watch the federal funds rate and the Treasury, the 10-year Treasury. And I promise you, when those streams cross, something big and something monumental is going to be happening. That's all I've got to say for today, everybody. Cairo out.